Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the great Indian drama Tughlaq, written by our very own Girish Karnad. Girish Karnad has been one of the most famous Indian dramatists, popularly known for his works like Yayati, Hai Vatna, Nagmandala, The Fire and the Rain, and many more. Now, the question arises, what inspired Girish Karnad to write a historical play? Well, its credit goes to the criticism made by Kirtinath Kurtukoti, who in one of his books said Kannad had produced no good historical plays, none that was in any sense significant. This struck a blow to Girish Karnad's heart and pride, and thus he decided that he was going to produce the significant literature in terms of historical plays. As a result, Girish Karnad started reading the history of India, and he zeroed in on the character of Muhammad-bin-Tughlaq, who is popularly referred as the wisest fool. He was so intrigued by this person that he decided that he was going to write a play revolving around his life. Why? Because he was a person who was struggling against failures, and ironically, he failed even more in the process. Without any further ado, let's dive into the plot of the very interesting drama Tughlaq. The scene one of the play unfolds as we see Tughlaq addressing the public. Through his speech, Tughlaq gives an impression of being an idealistic king, as he promotes the idea of secularism. He also decides that he would not be charging any jizya from Hindus. To those of you who do not know, jizya is a tax whose mention we find in Islamic religion. And he also says that he would impart an impartial justice to everyone. However, there are minute loopholes that we come to see by the end of this scene. How the corrupt people like Aziz misuse Sultan's policies to cheat and earn. Basically, what happens is that the land from a Hindu Brahmin had been confiscated by the Sultan's soldiers. And what does Aziz do? He buys that land, forges the contract, and files a suit against Sultan. Sultan accepts that suit. Why? Because he was giving an impression to his public that he was a very liberal king. He promoted secularism and he was ready to face any criticism against his own. So he accepts the suit and he makes the said Brahmin, that is Aziz, the winner and gives him the award of 500 dinars and a job as a compensation. Later on, it is revealed that it was not a Brahmin but a Muslim Aziz who was cheating on the Sultan himself. Now, what were the other major decisions taken by Sultan? The one of the very important decision was to shift his capital from Delhi to Daulatabad. There were several reasons for that. The first one was that Daulatabad will become the center of his vast empire. Second, the capital could be protected from the foreign invasion in this way. And the third one was that Daulatabad was land of Hindus, and according to Tughlaq, it would strengthen the bonds between Hindus and Muslims. Now, amidst all this, another politics was going on, and it was spread by Sheikh Imamuddin, who was giving speeches in public about how Sultan had killed his own father and brother for throne. Scene 2 opens with an extremely happy Sultan who is elated on the fact that he had solved the most famous chess problem. The scene also reveals a close bond of Sultan with his stepmother. The major events that unfold are the discussion about the invasion of Anul Mulk on Delhi, and again the problem of Sheikh Imamuddin is being discussed. However, Sultan's personality reflects him to be a visionary. He is not disturbed or perturbed by the fact that the conspiracies are going on against him from all directions. Instead, he says that he wants his people to be able to share their joys and sorrows with him, and thus he cannot waste in time in sleeping. We see that Sultan spends sleepless nights planning the entire time on how to make his kingdom an idealistic one. We are also introduced to two of his associates, one of whom is Wazir Muhammad Najib, who is cruel, cunning, and ruthless in his nature. And another one we have is historian Ziauddin Barani, who is an academician and likewise he is knave and peacemaker. Now, the politics that goes on in this scene is that Najib, when discussing the problem of Sheikh Imamuddin, darkly hints at the resemblance between the Sheikh and the Sultan. Although none of the decisions or none of the conspiracy is openly discussed here, but it is shown that Sultan gets the message as he comments, "You are a devil, Najib." And the thing also gets to the stepmother, and it is shown that she highly disapproves of Najib. He asks Barani to promise her that he would never leave Sultan's side. Scene 3 is extremely important. It is discussed that Sheikh Imamuddin was in Delhi itself instigating the people against the Sultan. As a result, Sultan holds a public meeting with Sheikh and urges everyone to attend the meeting. The agenda of the meeting was to discuss the administration with Sheikh and correct the loopholes that were in Sultan's administration. But what happens is that no one, not a single person, turns up for the meeting. Anyways, a personal discussion between Sheikh Imamuddin and Sultan goes on. Sheikh fearlessly tells Sultan that he should spread the kingdom of God on earth, following the Islamic rules. However, Sultan counters his suggestion, saying that his kingdom not only has Muslims but also has Hindus and Jains, and he need to clean all the sickness that has been spread in his kingdom. It is his job as a king, and God will not come to do it on his own. Then he talks about the ideas of Plato and Aristotle, telling everyone that he is a well read and a very intelligent sultan. He says he also respects the Greek part in him and visions of Zarathustra and Buddha, and he will not abandon them at any cost. Now, the politics here that goes on is that Sultan persuades the Sheikh to go to Ainul Mulk in the name of Islam and bring peace. Although the Sultan does not agree to any of Sheikh's ideas, still he is successful in persuading the Sultan and sending him as a peacemaker to Ainul Mulk, who was marching on Delhi. What are the reasons or what are the arguments he gives Sheikh to persuade him to do so? He says that if Sheikh denies to do this, then Muslim blood will flow. And being a true Muslim, being a true follower of Islamic, the Sheikh agrees to it. Sultan gifts him new robes, which makes him look strikingly similar to the Sultan himself. Now, you all can think of yourself what is going on in Sultan's head. Anyways, last belief that is being revealed here is that Sultan believes that religion and politics should be kept apart, and thus he would not tolerate any interference of Sheikh Imamuddin in his administration of Delhi. Now, as Sheikh Imamuddin reaches the war front with the message of peace, he is mistaken for Sultan and killed. Meanwhile, in Sultan's absence, Shihabuddin was taking care of the entire administration of Delhi. He had an adopted brother Ratan Singh who brings in the news of Sheikh's death and Sultan's arrival. As Sultan enters the stage, he looks very disturbed at the death of the Sheikh. He refuses any victory celebrations and keeps the next day for mourning for Sheikh. He also reveals that he had forgiven Ainul Mulk, for he was intelligent enough to find the flaw in the famous chess problem that Sultan thought he had solved. Barani is highly impressed with the generosity of the Sultan, as he does not punish Ainul Mulk nor does he confiscate any of his land. However, this is not the entire truth. Once the Sultan exits the stage, Ratan Singh reveals the entire truth and the conspiracy behind Sheikh's death. Sultan had very well taken advantage of the fact that he and Sheikh looked strikingly similar. So when Sheikh Imamuddin goes on the elephant with the message of peace, dressed in the new robes that Sultan had given him, everyone thinks that he was the Sultan himself. And then Sultan orders one of his soldiers to play the trumpet, declaring that the war was on. As a result, the Sheikh is killed in the battle he was not even prepared for. Meanwhile, Sultan was hiding behind some hills in the distance with his army, and they attack when the enemy was thinking that they had already won the battle, killing the Sultan. This helps Sultan kill two birds with a single stone. He was able to defeat Ainul Mulk, and he was also able to get rid of Sheikh Imamuddin forever. Now, Ratan Singh also tells Shihabuddin that a secret meeting was being organized by the nobles of Delhi, Amirs and Saids, and he urges Shihabuddin to join him in the meeting. The motive of the meeting was to ensure the murder of the Sultan. The reasons being the reluctance to leave Delhi for a Hindu city, Daulatabad, where they felt they would be completely helpless. Moreover, they had far too many taxes to pay. So everyone insists that Shihabuddin lead the conspiracy, but he refuses, counting the several good deeds done by the Sultan. There is only one elderly person in the entire group who is actually concerned about the people's welfare and disturbed by Sultan's growing tyranny. He reveals other truths to Shihabuddin, like the killing of Sheikh Imamuddin. And Shihabuddin very smoothly says that it was also the fault of people who never turned up for the public meeting organized with Sheikh by Sultan. And here the elderly man reveals that it was Sultan himself who had sent his soldiers asking the people not to turn up for the meeting. And he himself reveals a cut on his shoulder that had been given by a soldier trying to stop him from attending the meeting. Here we get to know the different facets of Sultan's personality. On the out front, he looks extremely idealistic, who is only concerned about the welfare of his people. But he is extremely sharp, witty, cunning, and he is very good at making pretense and acting as if he is all correct. He is very righteous in nature, but he is also very much involved in the dirty politics. Finally, Shihabuddin agrees to assassinate the Sultan, and Ratan Singh makes a plan to kill the Sultan during the compulsory prayers. As Sultan had already passed a law that 5 prayers in a day were compulsory, and during those prayers, no Muslim uses any weapons. So the plan was made that the Sultan would be killed during the prayers. Now that elderly man asks Shihabuddin not to do this because it is a crime to kill someone during the prayer. However, it is too late now and all the details are finalized. In scene 6, we see a meeting of Sultan with the Amirs, where he reveals that a descendant of Abbasid Caliph, Ghiasuddin Muhammad, is coming to India. He also tells that he had invited him to seek guidance from him in order to rule righteously. Then he questions everyone about what they want him to do to be a real king. This somewhere suggests that Sultan was already aware of the conspiracy and was hurt and wanted to know that what he had done wrong for his own people to conspire against him. When Shihabuddin implores Sultan that he should not move his capital to Daulatabad, he counters his suggestion with his visionary speech. And to add to the effect, he kneels in front of everyone, requesting them to cooperate and have faith in him. The prayer time comes, and everyone gets into the prayer positions. And as decided, an attack is made on the Sultan. However, the things do not go as planned. The conspiracy is failed. Sultan is saved by the Hindu soldiers who were just standing right outside the chambers, waiting for the attack to be done. It was wrong of Muslim soldiers to pick up weapons during the prayer times, but Hindu soldiers did not have any such restrictions. As a result, all the Amirs were killed except for Shihabuddin, whom the Sultan killed himself. And he killed Shihabuddin very brutally. Even after Shihabuddin had died, he gave additional stabs on his body repeatedly, showing his deep frustration and his cruel nature. But he was intelligent enough to not let his cruelty, to let his anger overrule his senses. And he declares to people that there was a rebellion and Shihab had died a martyr's death. If he had not done so, then it would have caused another rebellion, as Shihab was also a prince of another kingdom. So, in order to stop any riots from his highly powerful father, he declared his death as a martyr's death. Major fallout of the Amir's conspiracy was that the Sultan orders that people should start moving to Daulatabad within a fortnight. His comment, "Nothing but an empty graveyard of Delhi will satisfy me now," reflects on his adamant and stubborn nature. Despite facing so much opposition, he is keen on shifting his capital from Delhi to Daulatabad. Here, we are also able to draw a contrast between scene 1 and scene 6. In scene 1, Sultan has said, "This is an invitation, not an order. Only those who have faith in me may come with him." Even though it was a very tricky statement, and not moving to Daulatabad would have meant that people did not trust their Sultan enough, which in turn would have been very dangerous. Still, Sultan had diplomatically asked his people to have faith in him and come to Daulatabad. Whereas in scene 6, he does not leave his people with any choice, and he very clearly orders that within the next month, every citizen must leave for Daulatabad. Hence, Muhammad-bin-Tughlaq, who started as a very liberal ruler, has now transformed into a complete tyrant. We can easily track his transition from a liberal king to that of a tyrant and an adamant ruler. Now, this marks the end of part 1 of the play Tughlaq. In another video, we will meet with the part 2 of this play, and all the remaining scenes are now set on the way from Delhi to Daulatabad, or in the hills, or in the Daulatabad itself. We'll meet soon with the next part of this play. If you found this video useful, please like, share and subscribe. Till then, thank you for watching. Keep reading literature and stay tuned for more.